Hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. This Friday night we are going to be reviewing 2014's Kaththi.
And I'm going to be listening to the audio, Stephen, to make sure.
Telepathy VJ John. We were recommended this film after we reviewed, what was it last week we reviewed?
Sarkar.
Yeah.
Sarkar.
And we got panned for that. It's had over 700 views, so people are interested.
Yes.
And that's what we like, you know, people taking an interest in what we do. It's a great journey, John. This is our third Telepathy VJ film we've watched now, and I'm sure as we get into this review we will gather our thoughts and express our feelings on the experience of this film. Coming in at 2 hours and 46 minutes, John.
Was it that long?
Didn't feel like that.
I thought it was 2:30.
I thought it was according to IMDb, I thought it was 2:30 as well.
We may have been watching a different version, Stephen.
Could be.
I hope not.
It was Amazon Prime though, John. It was only a version on Amazon Prime, so we'll get into it anyway. 7.9 out of 10, and as always, John, with a Telepathy VJ film, a lot of social issues in there, messages, and most of the time we agree with these messages as well.
Yeah, what a positive themes being explored, Stephen.
Yeah,
it's the one thing I've seen in the three movies. It's the one piece of sort of continual similarities, if you like, with these three movies. There's a positive undercurrent in the movies. He's trying to express something to the wider populace, farmers, the treatment of women, and then obviously in Sarkar it was the whole political system and the rigging of it. Yeah. So I like that fact that, as I keep saying about telepathy, despite his power, despite his position in society, he's not just forgetting about the little man, the man in the ground, if you like, and moving on to his upper spheres of society. He's going to try to help the little man, the common person. He is a man of the people, Stephen. We've seen it in that most recent election, riding to the polling station. So look, fair play to telepathy. But Stephen, as ever, we'll bring this up. We have a little graphic here, and I don't know why reviews is above it. That should not be fucking happening. So let's address that right now by bringing this up. That is not going to work. Let's address it right now by bringing it up. There you go. I've got OCD, I think,
you are
Stephen.
the perfectionist, John.
I'm borderline anal when it comes to these things, but needless to say, there is a layout of how we review movies. F through to A. F is terrible, worst movie you will ever watch in your life, The Fanatic from John Travolta. Below average is the E, minus through plus. It's just a below average movie. It's neither terrible, neither good. It's just in that sort of purgatory of watchable, but below average. Average to decent, C, minus through plus is an average movie. It's an enjoyable watch, but it's not quite good. B minus through plus is good, very good. It's a very enjoyable watch. It's one of the best movies we've seen. And A is just reserved for those perfect movies, Stephen, the likes of Shawshank, The Godfather,
a handful.
The Apocalypse Now, movies like that, starring Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. Really good movies. Perfection. There's not many movies, Stephen, are going to get that perfect score from us. I can think of maybe a dozen max in the last 70 years that I would give an A rating to. So, Stephen, not even my favourite movie of all time, Cool Hand Luke, would get an A from me. I think that'd be a B plus because there's niggles in there. It's still my favourite movie of all time. So, you get the point. That's the rating. We'll go to this, Stephen. The graphic will not be right because I have not updated it. But needless to say, I will get right into updating it. If you want to come in, Stephen, and share your thoughts on the build-up to this movie, we have reacted to a lot of...
We do a little condensed sort of feelings thing, don't we, John?
We've reacted to a lot of stuff relating to this movie, Stephen. We've reacted to full-on scenes,
John,
the coin fight scene, but didn't see the light of day.
That's like, why was that? Was it just banned because we were getting blocked all over the place? Fair dues. John, the coin scene we watched previously. We watched a lot of segments of this film. Didn't spoil my enjoyment of the film, I'll be honest with you. Especially the musical sequences as well. I will say one thing, John. Sarkar's musical sequences were so disjointed. That was one of the things we talked about last week. That was one of the gripes. In this, I felt the musical sequences actually complemented the scene before and had the same theme. That's very important to, I think, a Western audience that's not used to that format. They need something that relates. I think that's not going to be too jarring, and it works in this film.
Stephen, we've got a comment from Mark K. Leo. He's asking, how's the movie? Have you seen the movie? We have. You've seen the movie. We have slightly different views on in terms of rating the movie, Stephen.
Slightly, yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I thought there was some good elements in it. There was some niggles, as ever. There will always be niggles in movies. Look, I took apart Nomadland and hit one Best Picture at the Oscars, so I'm an anal guy. So I'm going to get into the issues. But I did enjoy it in the main. I thought it was good. Much better than Sarkar, I have to say.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be hard, Stephen, because lots of Indian people even told us not to watch Sarkar because it wasn't his best movie. But even then, I got things out of that as well, so it wasn't in vain, that watch. But Stephen, you're right. Look, we went down the rabbit hole. We got numerous reactions or recommendations for this movie. We did watch them. It gave us a sense of how this movie would flow. And you're right about the musical numbers. In Sarkar, apart from CEO in the House, they all felt out of sync with the actual movie. They didn't really fit in organically. In this one, they certainly do fit in organically. Selfie Puller, a puller it is, Selfie Puller in particular, I felt was perfect because it just hit it off. I think she basically says, look, I want to marry you and stuff like that, and then boom, they have this dance number in the street, and it was colourful and it was brilliant. We reacted to it, I enjoyed it, and I think, Stephen, that was the only one that telepathy actually sang in the entire movie, because we get educated about the process of movies in Indian pictures, music in Indian movies, I should say, and how they're stand-in singers for a lot of this, and it's 9 times out of 10 not the actual actors who are singing, but I did notice Telepathy's voice. I remember it from Cootie Story and Master, and he can sing like hell, can Telepathy. But Stephen, the story, man, we'll get into the actual story, thoughts on the writing, the character development, the way it ebbed and flowed, themes explored, and thoughts on the ending. Before we then go into the actual standout moments of the movie, if indeed you have any, I have quite a few. Stephen, it's a classic David v Goliath story for me. It's anti-capitalist, anti-big corporation, and he's highlighting the plight of the farmers over in the subcontinent, and it's something that's pertinent even till today, Stephen. I mean, this was 2014, wasn't it? This movie came out 7 years ago, and we, as recently as a couple of months ago, were having farmers out protesting over in India. So, again, he's trying to champion the little man. And Stephen, they do it very well in this, and they do it with some very shocking moments. No fewer than a couple of scenes, I think. The one that sticks to mind is the suicide. The 6 men getting into that body of water and killing themselves.
That was impactful, John. It was impactful because we talked about this film before we came on air, and the first 20 minutes of this film was concerning for both of us where it was going, because we've never seen the film before, but I think the way that Telepathy VJ's character, I can't remember his name, John, we
had Jiva and we had Kaththi. Kaththi was the con man.
That portrayal I felt was a bit wheeler dealer, and I thought, how is he going to maintain that sort of act for the duration of this film?
He was a maverick, Stephen.
Without I don't want to say he wasn't likeable. He had a cheeky sort of charm about him, but that could only last for a certain amount of time. But that scene, John, that was the key moment for me. The suicide scene, when it hit home with him, and then you saw it in his eyes. That's one of the things I like about Telepathy VJ, and certainly this film as well, John. His acting range throughout the film changes. He can do comedic, he can do romantic. He was impersonating the Samantha character as well, which I thought was very cute. There's something just cheeky about it, you know, and I like the guy, the sidekick, his friend. I don't know what his relationship was, if it was his brother
I think it was just a friend, Stephen, because I think he was trying to enable him to go out the country. He tried to secure a passport for him. He did, and then he just ripped the ticket up because she, in a sense, says, look, I want to fire into you. come back and phone my number, and obviously he phones the number and it's, I think, the dog pen or something like that, and he starts barking on the phone. Stephen,
and
you're right.
Freebie buffet, you've been fake numbered.
Yeah, I've been fake numbered. Stephen, we've got a comment again from Mark A. What was your favourite part of the movie? I'll tell you just now, in case you've not got the time to stick around. I actually thought the end scene with Kaththi standing aside from Jiva and the rest of the farming in the village, the farmers in the village. Yeah. He doesn't want the limelight, he feels it's wrong. When he turns around and walks away and you can see Jiva in the distance, that was my standout moment in the entire movie. The way it was shot.
Development for it as well. From that first impression we got of that character to the very end was so different, wasn't it? It
was, yeah. And Stephen, look, that's one of the things I definitely did have a niggle about in this movie. The first sort of impressions of Kaththi in this movie. Of course, he breaks out of the prison. I loved the fact the opening shot, he's running from the guards in the long grass.
Yeah.
And you think, this guy's incredibly lucky. They're shooting at him and he's evading. Turns out he was working with the guards and they were actually shooting at the other prisoner who was trying to escape. That was another gripe I had. They never really finished up the arc of that other prisoner. They hinted that he was angry at Kaththi and they wanted to kill him, but they never really did anything with that. But the main niggle I had was the Kaththi character. The first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, he was a little bit childish. The way he was acting, sort of touching his hand and stuff like that, not wanting to, I thought that was funny. Incidentally, I did think that was funny. He was that infatuated with this woman that he slapped her accidentally. He didn't want to touch anything else. He wanted her touch to remain on his hand, but he was a little bit immature, I thought, and that was a slight niggle. But he did, Stephen, he warmed to me and he matured, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
But he certainly changed. The leopard changed its spots in this case as the movie went on. Stephen, the story though, man, I like the way it flowed in the main. I like the way that it did highlight this sort of struggle of the farmers.
Yeah.
It was a little bit how can I put it? A little bit inconsistent in the sort of the pacing. And at points we'd go off to this villain who was, I didn't think he was Indian, Stephen. I actually thought he was British. It'd go to him and then it'd go back to Jiva, then it'd go back to Kaththi. It went a little bit all over the place trying to create this action experience. And sometimes the story of the farmer's plight, this race against time to get a win in this court, that kind of fell by the wayside. That would be another little issue. It was a little bit inconsistent at times, but in the main I thought it flowed pretty well, Stephen, and I liked the story, man. I liked the underlying theme. That's, as I did say at the very start, the first thing I said about the movie. It's something that's consistent throughout the 3 movies we've watched with Telepathy. He likes to present this powerful theme in his movies, this powerful message to the masses, and that's the one thing I took out of the story. In terms of the writing, man, I mean, it was decent parts, and Stephen, you mentioned it, sometimes the extras in the movies,
I think they're just handpicked.
Yeah, they're handpicked, and sometimes
I think it's locals, John. I think that's what they do. I'm assuming that's
it can distract you at times, man. But Stephen, that's the same in Western movies as well. Let's be honest, you can have some big goonball extras walking in the background and stuff like that. The extras
in Tatooine and the Phantom Menace were shocking.
Terrible.
Shocking in the pod race crowd. You could tell they were cued, look left, look right.
Stephen, the extras in A New Hope were terrible. The stormtrooper bumped his head off the roof. So But Stephen, in the main, man, I thought the story was well written. I liked the message it was portraying. Character development, I mean, there was a lot of character development for Kaththi in this movie. To me, he was the primary character throughout. With Jiva came in and out, but he was playing second fiddle. He kind of, his whole point was to sit in the jail, and Kaththi obviously went through and did what he did, try to win this fight for them. Then Jiva appeared at the end, and he was a sort of poster boy for it at the end, but Kaththi did all the work. So I like the development in Kaththi.
I think the only niggle I have with that, John, is these 2 guys look exactly the same. It's not really investigated why. It's not really. I take it it's not really that important, to be honest with you, but it's just, if I saw my doppelganger, I'd make a bigger deal about it,
Yeah.
But it's just something, it's a slight niggle.
It had been shot, to be fair, and he was drifting in and out of consciousness. A couple more comments, Stephen. Did you learn anything from this movie? Mostly about the farmers' plight over in India.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't learn too much in that. I don't mean that in a sort of a negative way, in the way this film is written, but being brought up in a socialist family, you understand the social plight of the little man. Anyway, so I thought it was well executed and explained as well, John, for anyone that's not really familiar with the situation with the farmers and
capitalist
stuff like that.
societies,
Yeah, exactly.
It's harsh on the little man, Stephen.
It's not too preachy either, John, and sometimes I think films can go too far. Even Telepathy VJ's speeches, which I think he always delivers very well.
He had a great one in this movie.
Yeah, very emotional, John. they're not preachy at all.
No.
You know, he's stating facts, you know, and really stating the obvious to the ignorant, if you like, you know.
Stephen, that speech was great when he says, where will the farmers go for water if the cola company takes 9,000 litres a day?
Yeah.
Every 30 minutes one farmer is committing suicide, and it's been happening for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
And you did say, Steve, not preachy, but giving the raw facts, to people who are perhaps ignorant of what happens. So that'd be the one thing I'd take away.
Yeah.
The plight of the farmers over in India. They do a great job of expressing their plight. Would you recommend this movie to a friend and explain your reason? Well, I would recommend it to a friend because I thought it was a decent watch in the main. And that's the kind of thing they're into, man. Exploring these sort of themes in the movie. Then why not? I'd give it a recommendation. We've got another comment, Steve. Can you read that?
For the most part of it, the problems faced by the protagonist sometimes stray from the central conflict in the film. Describe these problems and show how they are familiar to the problems you or someone you know must face.
Yes, Stephen, as you did say, you grew up in a socialist family, so you're well aware of the plight of the little man. But Stephen, standout moments in this movie, man. Favourite scene sequences, if you like. The intro, I did say, I liked the introduction where he does he escapes, gets captured, and then he helps the other. It sort of explains he's escaped, I think 18 times or something, and he helps the guards at this prison try and catch this other guy. I liked the way it was. The way it flowed, I liked the way he was standing at the table and all of the sort of buildings were coming up and it was going under. It showed you this guy had an analytical eye. He was a step ahead of the game, if you like. And obviously, Stephen, as I did say, the character wooing the woman. Did you say it was Samantha?
Samantha's the actress, yeah.
What was the character's name, do you know?
It was Aunt Keitha.
Aunt Keitha, the way he was trying to woo her at the airport, childish in the main, but it was still a standout. The way he was over the top doing it. She wanted his pencil or his pen, and that was him. He just went after her after that, so got to appreciate that. Stephen, what was your standout moments, man? No, I mean, I've got a couple here. I don't want to just speak again and again and again and again.
I could be very lazy and just say some of the action sequences. Some of the action sequences actually in this film
were better.
Were better, obviously, than Sarkar's, but and were more justified as well, because we'll talk about that as well, John, in terms of Kaththi. I think he was more trained and had more justification in his sort of execution of his fight scenes, whereas in his character in Sarkar, I felt just came out of nowhere. Very skilled fighter. It just didn't sit right. John, but
a CEO, Stephen.
I would say probably the coin scene for me. I thought that was very well shot. It was almost comic book like in a good way, like The Dark Knight, something like that.
Kick-Ass.
Just filmed in a very enclosed area. A lot of it was in the dark. Clearly that was part of the plan. Dropping the coins, the lights would go out, he'd execute some more. Just the way it was executed, John, from a cinematography point of view, I felt they executed it very well. Yeah.
Stephen, look, that was a great scene, and of course we did react to it before even watching the movie, so I knew what was coming. But it flowed well in the actual movie. Obviously, it takes a liking to these old guys in this home who have been dispersed from the villages because of this sort of conflict with this multi-corporate company led by that guy whose name completely eludes me. He's a shithead, the sort of villain in the movie.
And it flowed Cedric well. Peter Vaughan.
Cedric, I hated that guy. Yeah. The actor, I'm sure, is okay, but the actual character was a shithead. And the coin story. Stephen, you're right, or the coin fight. You're right though, Sarkar, I don't think Telepathy's character earned the right to be able to fight like that. He had bodyguards. He was a CEO. I thought he should have been a weasel of a character, sort of more cerebral, manipulating things with his brain instead of fighting. In this, it was established from the start he was a con man. He'd been in and out of prison. He could handle himself.
John,
when he batters the shit out of people, then it's expected.
There was another scene that I liked as well, and it was the shaving scene. In Cedric Peter Vaughan's apartment.
Yes.
The telephone conversation between the two of them. That was him saying, you got to me, I can get to you as well. It was a great scene.
It was.
It reminded me so much of Dead Man's Shoes.
Yes.
You had the knife right at your throat. I was this close.
You're fucking there, mate. Gather the guns and get in the car and get to me first. You're right, Stephen. It was like that. One of my favourite cinematic moments.
It was sending a message, that's what I liked.
Stephen, the other standout moment for me in this movie was the switcheroo storyline. I've said these two characters, these doppelgangers, doubles, and the way they swap these characters about was like trading places for me, but action. And it was required for Jiva. Jiva didn't have the physicality, the ability to handle himself like Kaththi. So Kaththi had to step in, take a more proactive approach in this fight, and then Jiva could come in and use his brains and stuff like that at the end to get the win. It was they weren't a whole character. Jiva had the brains, he had the maturity. Kaththi had the brawn, and he had the actual physicality. We required these two guys to come together to get this job done. One couldn't have done it, the other one couldn't have done it. I liked that switcheroo storyline. It made the story more interesting, Stephen, because see if this was just a movie about farmers and their plight in water, and these companies coming in to steal it. If it was just about that, look, it can work. Look at Dark Water, I think it was with Mark Ruffalo. It may work, but it had been a different movie.
Yeah, it would have been drama.
It would have been more drama and perhaps a little bit more serious and stuffy. This little switcheroo storyline, it gave us something a little bit more fun and action orientated to put into the movie, and I did like
one
that.
thing about Telepathy VJ in this film as well, John, and we talked about it, so I'll just reiterate it, was his physical presence as Kaththi was different to Jiva. I felt there was some puffiness about him. I don't know if maybe they shot at different times of the year.
Well, we've seen that with Bahubali. Prabhas put weight on and changed his physique for the two characters. He had bigger arms for one, bigger shoulders for the other. So it may be, Stephen, look, it would take great dedication to the role for Telepathy to go off, maybe take 3 months off and change his physique, put on a little bit of weight or something. But Stephen, it's very hard to do that double duty, two characters. We've seen Eddie Murphy do it famously over here for 20 odd years. Prosthetics, it can work against you in those movies. It's hard to do it, to create two different characters and act differently while on the screen as them, but he did a great job doing it, man. He handled that double duty very well. Kaththi was totally different. Despite them looking the same, he felt like a completely different individual. So that's hats off to Telepathy for accomplishing that. Obviously, Stephen, as I did say before, the tragic scene with the suicides, the throat slitting, it was harrowing watching, and the whole conference video was a great bit of how shall you put it?
A huge gasp.
No, what do you call it again? When they're filling in the blanks for characters.
Exposition.
It was an expositionary scene for the audience and for Kaththi. He was thrust into this role. They're all asking him, what do you do with this? Obviously his friend was saying, why are you praying to these people? Why are they dead? They killed themselves. We didn't know. They didn't know. That was an important sequence for the character for us to watch and see what Jiva was. Yeah, there was another bit as well, John. You just reminded me there later on in the film where the other older members of his group they were willing to sacrifice themselves. If it maybe 5 years left. Attention to the news companies. Yeah, that line, John, was actually quite sad and harrowing in a way. But it was a great scene. It was. Stephen, I've got a couple other ones. Also the dance numbers. We did react to them, so we kind of knew it was coming. But again, I spoke about it before, the way they flowed into the movie, it was much better in this one. You says it yourself, it felt like it belonged in the movie. And that's what I've grown accustomed to watching Indian movies. These dance numbers fitting into the movie and being pertinent to the story. It didn't quite work in Sarkar. I think I won around the fields and there's guitars getting played and stuff like that. That felt like it was from a different project completely. And this, it did work. I'm actually trying to remember, I think the first one was the airport and I loved that. That was a great dance sequence. He's going through the baggage and stuff like that. That was massive in scale in terms of the dancing. And I love the fact to get pilots and stuff like that. And obviously, Selfie Puller, that's probably one of the better songs and dance numbers I've reacted to from Telepathy, and that did come in the middle. I'm trying to think what the other one was. There was another dance number, but for the life of me I can't recall. You had the one at the airport. Selfie Puller. The one with the Mindy picks up the ball and throws it at her back. It's her bum. That's Selfie Puller, There may have only been two. I think there was a third one. There was a third one. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe someone can help in the comment section. John's just talking about the comment section. We've got another comment coming in from RKK Leo. If you were to choose, which character did you admire, hate, love, pity the most? What was it about the character that caused you to have that reaction? Well, Steve, I'll tell you what, I'll bring up IMDb. I can't even speak. I'm trying to say that many words at the one time that I'm actually having a fucking stroke. For me, Cedric Peter Von annoyed the hell out of me, and I'll tell you why. He did that thing that the Joker does, picks his moments to strike. Because he's fight sequence frustrated the hell out of me, that John, and it just made me hate him even more. So that's the character. Well, for me, Stephen, Kaththi was the one that I admired in the movie. Well, maybe Jiva, because he was an idealist. His vision was constant. Kaththi was an opportunist, and he took what he could get. Then he melded and became one. The friend at the end says his mother was a farmer and she died, so that's why he was so passionate about it. So I quite liked that. Probably Kaththi was the one, and the one I hated was definitely Cedric Peter Von. He was just an absolute shithead of a guy. An absolute
not a couple of comments here, John. We've got one from Prashanath G. One of the best movies of Tamil cinema. I've got to agree with you. Definitely is, John. So far from what we've seen, we've got a lot of films to get through, but it's certainly one of my favourites at the moment.
Steve, how many have we watched? We've watched Tamil cinema, we've watched Master, we've watched Vikram Vedha, we've watched Sarkar now, we've watched Kaththi. So that's 4 we're on to. We have watched Bahubali, the conclusion, the beginning, but I think they're Telugu
as well.
Dangal, I think it's North, because that's Hindi, and I think it's Amir Khan. Padmavat. So they're different regions. I think Tamil. I think this is our 4th Tamil movie.
But I'll say one thing, John. The more we're watching, the more we're understanding where these films are coming from, what studio they're coming from, and what area in India they're coming from as well. John, RKK Leo also asks: is there a consistency in the characters throughout the story? Do their actions follow their natures and ring true? Yeah,
there is. Yeah. Jiva is an idealist, as I did say. He's constant in this movie. Even when he's locked up, he feels like, I don't believe it. I do not belong here. I need to get out. I need to go and help my friends, this village, my mother, my sister. And obviously Kafir, he's not consistent in the sense that he does go on a journey and he grows, he develops as a character. But he's consistent in trying to woo the Samantha character, so that's what I will say. And obviously the shithead villain, he's consistently a shithead, because he's just selfish and wants his multi-corporate sort of company to get the water out of the ground. He wants to buy off these villagers and get shot of them rapid. So yeah, I'd say there was consistency in the movie. Stephen, standout moments, have you got any more, man? I'm looking through here and
I don't think so, John. I think we've highlighted the ones where there's a bit of action I like, a bit of emotion I like as well. So
I've says the multinational company and it's Bob Iger, Stephen, the battle for the water under the ground. I did like, I'm getting a little vibration to my watch there. It's just telling me the power's low. Thank you, Apple Watch. Just the battle. I spoke about that before, Stephen, the sort of underlying themes in this movie, the supremacy, the battle for supremacy, the water under the ground. I like that, but I've said that before, so I can't go over the same stuff, John, again.
There is this sort of pattern that I felt was the same in Kaththi as there was in Sarkar as well, with Talapi Vijay's character coming up with a plan, at the end, at the last maybe half hour of the film, he comes up with this sort of it's almost like it's going to either triumph or it's going to fail, and it's the sort of last throw of the dice. I've seen that twice now.
There was a similarity. I can't even speak tonight. I'm having a stroke. Clearly, I'm tired and I need to get my scratch. But Stephen, there was when I think it's when the actual villain, I don't know his name. You're going to have to bring it up again.
Peter Vaughan.
When Cedric phones him up and basically says, "Look, we've got you, yada yada yada," he says, "Oh really? I'm waiting." So that was kind of similar to Sarkar as well. And then also the final shot, I did say it was my favourite shot in the whole movie, Stephen, when it shows you the development in this character. He goes from this selfish guy that's just trying to take the money and escape to actually having a care for all of these old guys, this village, the plight, the water, the farmers' plight in general. And then he's not wanting the limelight. He's developed as a character. He stands off at the side. I love the music in it, that scene. And again, that shot, when he takes his hand off the car and walks away and you see Jiva in the distance. I don't know how they done that. I don't know if it was some trickery in the actual footage, the way they filmed it. Was actually telepathy in the distance and they, I don't know, maybe put him on top of it or something, rotoscoped it, or was it a double that looked like telepathy? But I loved that scene. I watched it about 3 times. Stephen, the other standouts but we'll put that into technical, would be the actual score. I liked the score. It was kind of pipe heavy. I don't know if it was a flute. But it was like a woodwind instrument. It was like a night. I liked the score. It was consistently decent throughout, and it sort of, framed the more emotive human moments in the actual story. And I liked that. I liked the score. Cinematography, man, you get it throughout these Indian movies. It's usually very, very good, especially in the actual action sequences. It manages to capture thuds, hits to the body, slow-mo shots, and you see that in this, Stephen. There's a moment where he actually picks a guy up when they're beating the old men at the home. He goes back to the home, he's like, "I've had enough, I'm taking these guys on." I think it was after the coin scene, I don't know if it was or before, may have been before actually, and he throws one of the guys through the bed, and you feel the thud, you actually feel that guy's pain through the sort of sound scope or scape and the actual cinematography.
I loved when you're talking about the action one, was when he was fighting the 2 women, the 2 decoys from the news team in the room. He throws one of them out the window. They would not do that in Hollywood these days. They would not dare do that in Hollywood with a female.
I forgot all about that. I forgot all about that scene, Stephen. That was a standout as well, yeah. The two reporters come in. He's like, yes, I'm going to get on the TV here. They immediately try to stab him. Firstly, he's concerned. How am I going to remember what this guy did and what his life achievements were? They're going to ask me questions here and I'm going to get found out to try to stab him.
It's a bit like us when we do reviews.
So as every time we go live, Stephen, it's the great unknown. It's like a game of Minesweeper. But there's lots of mines and we have to try and get around them and not make a complete fool of ourselves. I liked that scene as well, Stephen. I liked the action. The action was good, and as you did say before, it felt more earned in this movie than it did in Sarkar. Performances, Stephen, look, Sarkar, we did state that it was a one-man show, really. It was just Tilapia for VJ, but in fairness to the villainous actor Neil Nitin Mukesh, he was a decent villain, man. He was annoying, as you did say. He had that trait of being able to pop up and be a nuisance at the right time.
About him,
I mean, I think
the court scene, he was so smug.
Oh, I like that though. When they lose it gets postponed 5 days. He's giving that little look. The fight sequence at the end when he nearly dies, Kaththi, he gets stabbed. First of all, that was a niggle. I'm not going to lie. That was a slight niggle. If you stab someone like that, they are going to die, man. He has to get to a hospital. I don't think he went to a hospital. Twice but you've got to suspend disbelief when you're in these movies, man. You've just got to enjoy what's happening on the screen, not think too hard about it. But you think he's out the game, he's beating all these guys, then he comes behind them and hits them with a bit of wood or something. I'm like, you fucking shit.
That's what I'm saying,
John. It was annoying, but it was good.
So
he
have picks
to
his opportunity to strike. Clearly he's not a great fighter. But you're absolutely right, John. For me, it's probably, well, it's not probably, it's definitely Tilapia VJ is the sort of standout in this. But it's a better supporting cast in this film, John, to Sarkar. I don't really want to compare this to Sarkar. It's not very fair on Sarkar, but for me, like the likes of Samantha, you've got Cedric, I was about to call him Neil, Nitin Mukesh as well.
Stephen, the little friend guy, he was good in it.
He was, John, and sometimes I like that in these films, and I hope when we do go down this sort of journey with Tilapia VJ films, there is more sidekicks and stuff like that, because I think he works better when he's got either a brother or a cousin or someone he can bounce off of. I'm not saying he needs that, he doesn't, he handle himself, but it just kind of keeps it interesting, you know.
Stephen, I don't know what the actual bearded guy was, the sort of leader of the older villagers who they end up obviously killing themselves in the water. That bearded guy had a couple of scenes though, but he was decent. There was a guy with a tremendous beard in this as well, with long hair. I was like, wow, I'm in awe of that beard. Unbelievable, man. He's like a guy I watch on YouTube. It's actually a beard sort of cutter and beard enthusiast. His beard was next level. One of the best beards I've ever seen in cinema. So I have to tip my hat to him, and I'll take my hat off and tip it to him. Well done. That was a tremendous beard. Stephen, you're right. The one niggle I had with Sarkar, well, there was multiple niggles with Sarkar, let's be honest. It wasn't that great, and I'll admit it. I rated it, what was it? I rated it a D minus. I think we rated it a D. I don't know. But it wasn't great. And one of the reasons it wasn't that great was the lack of supporting performances. It was all on Tilapia. Everything, the little shithead uncle, the love interest, the puppet master female character, they weren't great. And Tilapia had so much to do, Stephen. And look, as good an actor as he is, and as good a
extras
presence,
are sort of taking away from the main villain in a shot.
How bad is the villain then, Stephen? When the extras are more interesting than the actual character front and centre. He couldn't do it all, Stephen. No. He struggled. He didn't struggle. He carried the movie and made it watchable, let's be honest. But he couldn't do it all. I mean, he had some amazing moments of rally and stuff like that. But that was Sarkar. This is Kaththi. This movie did have some help, to be fair. He did have some characters helping them with that load. They weren't enough to take my attention away from Tilapia or anything like that. He was still the main man, and he is by far the standout performer. As you would expect, it's his movie. He goes to directors and producers and brings them into these projects. They don't go to him.
Talked about that, John.
So
talked about it the other day.
You expect him to be the main performance, and he certainly was. But the likes of the little friend character, the villain, and even Samantha in spots, they did their bit to help him subtly. Stephen, man, if you get anything to say about the editing, the cinematography I kind of touched on. It was decent in spots. Also the action, that sequence at the end where they sort of frame it, Jiva, Samantha in distance, Kathir's a leper on the outside having to walk away from what he holds dear, this woman. That was well shot.
You mentioned it before as well about the visuals. The blueprint, that sort of animated cartoon thing they did was great. I thought it was just a nice little trick,
augmented reality,
wasn't it? Under the table at the pipework, which was great. It was just something, it was a novelty thing, but I liked the way it was. I liked how it was edited. I liked, especially with the fighting sequences, John. They can either be hit and miss. In this film, I thought they did very well.
George C. Williams was the cinematographer, Stephen.
Yeah.
I don't know much of that.
Vikram Vedha,
did Vikram Vedha, so there you go. And that was a good short movie. And obviously Matt Haven and the great Vijay Sethupathi, they done very well in that movie. So it was very photogenic actors. So it's not hard to make these guys look good when they're that photogenic. Music was by Anirudh Ravichandran. He has worked with Telepathy many
so
times.
Young. John, I'll tell you something about.
Very young, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'll tell you something about the music in this. The soundtrack. I should
search
say.
This guy up and find out how old he is.
Some of them was standout moments, you know, with
30.
30. That's ridiculous, John.
He's scoring movies for major stars in India, and he's only 30 years of age. This guy is going to have 50 years of work.
Yeah, such a talent, John Williams-esque. But John
Sultan.
Master, fantastic. What a CV already.
Yep.
30 years old. What
It's
have
a
I
joke,
did with
isn't it,
my
man?
life? But John,
I'm 32 and I feel completely
what
inadequate
did you
now.
feel about the soundtrack, John, or the score, I should say?
Stephen,
I liked, there was a lot of stringed instruments getting played throughout the film, which I liked. You know, it was just subtle stuff, but it added to the sort of emotion to the scene.
Well, Stephen, as I says, the woodwind instrument, I don't know if it was an Indian instrument or whether it was just a flute or something like that. Or it wasn't a penny whistle, but the little woodwind moments when there was emotive moments, like when he was crying. See, Stephen, that was another moment as well. There was a lot of moments that intrigued me in this movie. When they've got the blue ink on their thumbs and he's actually going to the dead.
That's right, yeah.
People.
Yeah.
The score in that sequence and many emotive sequences, it was the same sort of woodwind instrument, and I enjoyed that element of the actual score. Very different to Master. Not even remotely similar. So we see this guy's got range in terms of what he can do with soundtracks and composing movies.
Yeah.
And look, that's something that some great composers can't do. You listen to a composer, the likes of a John Williams, a Hans Zimmer, that other guy that done Shawshank, who I'm completely blanking on, and who's an amazing composer.
What was his name again?
Never get it.
Yeah.
But they have a distinct sound. You watch a movie and you're like, that's him.
Yeah.
For this guy to do something completely different with two different movies, it shows you that he has real depth to his ability to score a movie. I can't recall that guy's name. It's going to haunt me. I'm going to search it up.
I'll get it now, John.
But Stephen, it's going to round us up, man. I mean, we're coming to the end of this review. We've spoke about the story. We've spoke about the standout moments. Thomas Newman. Jesus Christ. And there is another Newman who done the Marriage Story with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. They were nominated for Oscars the same year. You get my, I mean, no, the different composers sometimes have that trademark sound, but sometimes they don't. And certainly it seems like Ravichandran, if that is his name, I'm not blanking on it already because I have problems with names. He seems to be one of those guys. But Stephen, overall thoughts on this movie before we give it a rating? Stephen, I went into this hot on the heels of watching Sarkar, and to be honest with you, I was disappointed with Sarkar. Despite being warned off it, there was elements I enjoyed, the rally speech and stuff like that, and just telepathy in general. I come into this movie and I was hoping for something better, and it certainly was better than Sarkar. I still don't think it's on the same level as Master, personally. I think Master, the first telepathy movie we watched, was absolutely stupendous, and I think it's because you've got a heavyweight actor like Vijay Sethupathi starring alongside him, and even your man, who I'm blanking on, who played the little bearded guy who was friends with Bhavani. Why am I blanking on his name? He had a similar name in the movie.
His surname was the character's name. Yeah,
he was great as well, and he's been in other movies. He was in, I think, Vikram Vedha, funnily enough. And I enjoyed him. So there was lots of big personalities.
Definitely.
And it was obviously Lokesh Kanagaraj, and we've watched Kaththi, the other Kaththi.
Yeah.
And that was very, very good as well. So you had lots of elements coming in this movie's favour. So for me, that is still by far the best telepathy movie I've watched. I'm sure as we go down this rabbit hole with this actor, there'll be something else that is every bit as good and brilliant. For me, this didn't quite get to that, but it was much better than Sarkar for me.
Yeah.
And overall, I liked what they done with the story. I thought it framed this plight of the farmers very well. It brought it into mainstream attention, which is probably something that's needed, because as we've seen as we went down this journey, Stephen, telepathy isn't just big in India. No. He's got fan bases in France and the Philippines, all over the world. So you're bringing this plight of these downtrodden farmers to a world stage. So that's an important thing. Yeah. Like the voting thing, I think it was Law 49 something.
What I get out of it was the journey for the... I've thingied on his name, the character's name. Kaththi, John. His development through the film was what I would expect the people around them to be like as well. A cheeky chap.
Yeah.
that would only last for 10 minutes with me before it would start to annoy me, and that was what was happening at the start of that film. I'm so glad that he developed through the film. It was a great piece of writing to do the character like that, where he's not a hate figure or anything. I wouldn't go to those extremes, but an annoyance at times.
He's a maverick,
and as you said, John, a bit immature. As the film, rolled on, you started to like him, and you started to get to know him better. And that's the way I would imagine the characters around him, the likes of the Samantha character as well. A bit of a...
Yeah, she was taking him with him once she realised he was this sort of
it
spearhead figure.
Yeah. So, that's great writing for me, John, and that's what I get out of this film. It was a nice journey there. A lot of social elements in it as well that are very important. Certainly the situation with the farmers in India. And you talked about it earlier on as well with Tilapia VJ, John. He likes to highlight these issues in the films, but not in a preachy way, which I always like, and I think it's very important to get that message out there, and if you can do it in the medium of film, then why not?
Yes.
And he's using his position with this platform for a good reason, and it's one of the things we're starting to see in the films we have seen so far, that seems to be his sort of choice. And I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all, John. We've got a lot of films here. I'm trying to remember the chap that did he's an English director that I'm blanking on, John, but he's very social conscious. He did the one where the guy was made homeless and he was signing on and stuff like that a couple of years ago. It was a very, very sad film. I can't remember what it's called.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, John. I think
it.
Kevin might have reviewed it actually on the blog, but that I like that. I do like that sort of, I don't like to say kitchen sink drama. This certainly isn't a kitchen sink drama. This is an action drama.
It was down in the ground, really, in these sort of rural villages and the plight of these villagers and the small man, for a lack of a better word. So it was kind of flying the wall for that plight and stuff like that. It wasn't like a big bombastic Thanos-esque experience, so it certainly was human level in its scale. But Steve, man, I'm done speaking about this movie. We're going to get the rating. What are we giving this movie, Stephen?
John, I did say to you that I was going to give it a D+, but now I've absorbed it over the last couple of hours.
Speaking about this movie, he's actually changed my mind on the rating.
I'm giving it a C-, John.
Yes, I'll give you that. Boom. I'm going to change my mind here, Stephen.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah, fair dues.
I've changed my mind. Actually sitting speaking about the movie, it's reminded me of how many standout moments I actually had in this movie.
Yeah.
When I was speaking about it afterwards with you, I didn't actually realise there was that many standout, but you've reminded me of a couple, the actual fighting sequence with the two women.
That's why I changed my mind as well, John.
There's a couple of moments that actually perked me up, so I've actually upped my rating. I was going to give it a C-.
I think it was because there was so many of them. I think initially, once you saw the film, it's hard to process. It takes a bit of time to absorb what you've just watched, and you can change your mind. It's all subjective at the end of the day.
Dean, I literally stopped watching the movie 45 minutes to an hour ago.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour and a half. Literally finished it, set the stuff up for the actual review, so you can change your mind on things, that's the beauty of cinema. It's all subjective, man. I may go back and watch this movie in 4, 5, 6 months and think, look, no, it's actually a C+ or something that may even go down. You never know. Look at Christian Harlow with The Last Jedi. It went up, it went down, it went down again. But Stephen, that's going to round up. It did go down, believe me. He rated it at a level, he put it up a point and then he reduced it big time.
We did that as well.
Stephen, I fucking loved The Last Jedi when it first came out, and then I thought, I've had an aneurysm. I came to my senses and estimate that review's still on the website. I need to get that off, man. That's a black mark against my name. But Stephen, that's going to round up our review of Kaththi. Thank you again to RK Leo and the other chap who came in and commented. I'm going to look for his name. Prashanth. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing this experience with us, giving us stuff to speak about as well. You get one more comment there. From a point of editing of view, cameraman's view, identify one example of each of the following shots and describe how the shot affect. Well, again, man, the end sequence, that I liked that a lot. I watched it numerous times. Watched it 3-4 times. I really was taken by the fact this guy had changed so much. He was standing on the periphery, looking in on these euphoric scenes, these people winning against this sort of corporate company, multinational company, if you like, Cola company, I think it was. Don't know how they didn't get screwed or sued there, but I liked that scene, and that was a great moment of cinematography. But that's going to round it up, man. That's going to round our review up. What's your thoughts on Kaththi? You can share it below. How would you rate this movie on our rating scale? Maybe you can go back and look at our rating and give us your rating of it. You can comment below and share your thoughts on our review on anything in general you feel compelled to talk about. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the follow button over on Twitch if you're watching over there. To see more content like this in the future, there will certainly be more reviews. We're just starting to creep reviews into random Wednesdays now, so why not? So stick around for that if that's something you're enjoying. If you don't enjoy it, you don't want to see us again, that's absolutely fine. You can bug it off. But until then, guys, as ever, bye-bye. Way to end it.